you firstly for joining me. I'm super excited to talk to you because you have a lot of cool things about you, which we'll dive into a little bit later. Give yourself an introduction and we'll take it from there.
Sure. Well, my name is Emily, and my music name is Mira Sthira. Mira Sthira sort of developed around 2019 um, and continued to evolve 2020 up till now.
Mhm.
I've had other musical journeys before this. Uh, I started working with music producers as a vocalist, and I feel like that really helped me develop my relationship to songwriting and lyrics and music and vocals in a way that I found really supportive to my personal growth. Um, my cat is also going to probably be joining the session. He's kind of wild and crazy.
Well, I'm
Um,
glad you can give us a sneak peek into your life also. It's lovely to meet you, Mira. What does so Mira Sthira means ocean strength. Um,
yes.
where does that come from for you? Where did that name come for you?
Well, the ocean to me symbolizes like the emotional realm or the unconscious realm where I feel like all my music and content comes from is from this place that's so much beyond me as an individual. Like I'm pulling it from something so much bigger than me. And something that's so out of control in a way. And
Mm,
I kind of feel like that about life. Like life kind of throws you things that feel really chaotic and out of control at times, and finding the strength to ride those waves and experience the depth of that ocean of life is what I channel my music through. Um, so yeah,
yeah,
that's how I would define that.
yeah.
Um, and the word sthira means strength and steadiness in the practice of yoga. And I used to study yoga. I am a certified yoga teacher. I haven't been teaching it in a formal sense like that, but I feel like my yoga now is my relationship with helping people through addiction and recovery, and then my musical practice. So
Yes.
I've like integrated all these little parts of myself. We're working
Yeah,
on that.
I was going to say, when I kind of was reading through a bit of your bio and your sort of day job as an addiction counselor, and then also doing music on the side, there is a sense of like healing for others. Has that been something that's been part of your life for a long time, or did you kind of learn to be a healer in the way that you are today?
I'd say if I wasn't doing healing work to try to heal both myself and others, I'd probably be just meeting homeless people on the street and trying to help them, which is
Yeah.
not helpful to me when I'm trying to heal people in an unsustainable way through just giving more than I'm receiving, or being in codependent relationships and things like that,
Mm.
which is actually what a lot of my music is about, is healing from those kind of experiences and my own struggles. So service to me is super important in terms of being where I want to be and being aligned with like who I am and where my journey is. I've always wanted to help people
That's amazing.
since I was a little kid. um,
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. Have you always also had a connection with sort of nature? Because I know that is a big part of kind of your music and your feet, I would say quite thematically across just your Instagram, your music and who you are. Has that
yeah.
been a connection with the earth always?
Yeah, I feel like that's just pretty much who I am. I grew up as a little girl, like with woods behind my house, and you can see I'm wearing a woods shirt to speak to that. And I spent a lot of time just alone out in the woods, hanging out with trees, hanging out with plants, talking to plants, collecting bugs. Um, that was a lot of my time. Other than that, I'd be kind of inside a lot doing musical things and singing and listening to the radio and taping it and recording it and recording my voice. And so music and nature are definitely themes that have been important to me across my whole life.
That's amazing, and I think you can really see that in your work. And one of the things that you have quite a nice discography. I love the music that you have out. It's fantastic. but there is a kind of duality in the work that you do. There is a bit of a lightness and darkness. It's interesting that you're wearing
Yeah.
that top with the moon and the trees, and there's a light and a dark. So has that been something consciously you've explored, or has that naturally happened when you've written music, at a certain time that it's
Yeah,
come out that way?
it just naturally happens. I'm actually working on trying to be a bit more conscious with my music. I'm working on an album right now, although it's still a lot of kind of different themes, but um, I, yeah, I've just kind of let things come about and arise as they do. I have one
Mm.
song called The Woods that really is about the woods, and that one is actually removed from my Spotify right now because bots attacked it. Anyways,
Oh
it's a whole
no.
other story. I don't need to talk about that.
Right.
But in terms of a conscious relationship with my music, I feel like that's something that I'm working on, is kind of finding my sound and
Mm.
developing that into something that's cohesive, but also um, it is authentic to me, because that's really
Mm.
important to me. I don't want to try to fit something just because it sounds a certain way, if that
Right.
makes sense.
No, that makes sense. And I think, yeah, I think sometimes artists don't consider listeners in the fact that they are smart enough to know what kind of music is being fed to them, in the sense that actually this is something that means a lot to the artist themselves, or this is just a plug to get something out quickly, or is trying to be commercial, or etc etc. um what I really liked about your work that you've released so far, and obviously I'll put all the links in the description if anyone is watching back. You have a lot of music on SoundCloud as well, which is great. You kind of explore different genres of music, so it can go from, I mean, the latest sort of remix release that you have is a dance EDM sort of track, but then you can go to pop, you can go to electronic. I was diving
Yeah.
into some like folk singer-songwriter stuff.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was amazing. I love the diversity of music that you have out. When you were growing up, did you listen to all those types of different music, or was there
Hmm.
one that caught your attention?
I did listen to all sorts of music, but I mean, as a little kid, I kind of had what was available or what I heard on the radio. The first things I fell in love with were Michael Jackson, um, Ace of Base, and then it turned into Mariah Carey, Boys to Men, then transitioning into like hip hop and like Bone Thugs and Harmony,
Wow.
and then a lot of indie rock. I was really into Beck, um, and 90s bands like Sublime and Nirvana, and then I got into alternative rock. I was just really into every type of music and everything possible. I went through every stage of
Oh,
identity exploration with music, and I just love music. So um
yeah, I love that. I think you can definitely your voice is as well is so strong, and it's so interesting. There's a very like a richness to your voice, which I really enjoyed, especially with the latest release. Um, One thing I was going to say was actually I dived into your YouTube, and you started a YouTube channel around 14 years ago, which
oh
seems
gosh.
like a long, long time ago, but it was so nice to kind of see your evolution,
Yeah.
sonically, vocally.
Yeah.
What made you put that first video out, or how did you
I think
encourage yourself to
the
do that?
first video was probably just something ridiculous and silly, and I had gone in through and really tried to clean up my YouTube quite a bit, but there might have been some things that weren't from back in the day that I just kind of left on there. Again, it's kind of like, hey, I'm an authentic person, not just a product and a commodity. I'm not going to erase my whole history because I've now developed Mira Sthira. So I've still got music that I identify as Violet May, and then there's Emma May before that. And my Emma May music was me playing the acoustic guitar and writing songs. So that's how I developed as an artist in that way. I can't play the guitar anymore because I have autoimmune arthritis,
Mm,
which I may have shared, and it does impact my wrist.
mm,
And right now it's in my wrist and my ankles. So I limit what I do, so I'm not overdoing things with my body. Um,
mm,
and it was really challenging to be learning the guitar and then have lost the ability to play it. Even if I was able to play certain things on the guitar, it was kind of heartbreaking to lose that. So I've just transitioned into doing vocals, and I'm actually pretty happy about it.
I think it's wonderful. Like, you've taken a situation that is, for a lot of people, would make them give up with music completely. You know, when you're sort of attached to something so much, and then suddenly you're not able to do it, it can be quite overwhelming, especially you know how young you are, and kind of experiencing that. What made you really, like, if there was anyone else that was going through a similar experience, what kind of things helped you identify, actually, I can still do music, I can still do what I
Yeah.
love, but in a different form?
There's so many people that are going through similar things. The disease I have is called ankylosing spondylitis. It shows up in so many different ways, but I have friends that I have a friend that got in a car accident, and he's dealing with some significant pain. I have another friend that reported he just started getting gout in his feet, and
Mm,
so whatever the illness is, it really throws people off. So my first suggestion is letting yourself grieve for what you've lost, and then recognizing that despite the things that you can't do, there are things that you still can do. So really focus your energy on that.
mm,
And that, every cloud has a silver lining. So my silver lining is I've been able to develop my voice more. I've been able to develop some connections with people in different ways that I wouldn't have if I was just kind of in my room with my acoustic guitar. And um, my Mira Sthira development made me really want to actually start kind of promoting my music and offering it as a service to
mm.
others more, I would say, than I did before. And it's really renewed my passion for music.
Yeah.
So I think there's a way of working through it and finding that glimmer of hope and turning that glimmer into a bright light.
I love the way you've put that, and how you've kind of approached it, because a lot of the times we're told to change our mindset in a way that we're thinking completely different and not addressing the situation that we're in. And sometimes you do need to, like you said, you need to grieve sometimes, or even just understand, okay, this is what I'm not able to do, but I can do this. And we're not here hopelessly. There's always a purpose for us, for what we're doing. And that transformation that you've described, of actually, I used to play the guitar, but now I'm really focusing on my voice, and my voice can do something else. It can really give healing in a different way, as well as healing yourself, and kind of the grievance of not being able to play the guitar. I
Yeah.
think there's something quite magical about that.
Yeah, and
Um,
one of the things that I have to challenge myself on, and I see this with musicians in general, is there's this real hustle culture behind music.
mm,
And that's not why I got into music. And I don't think that's why most people get into music.
mm,
And then it starts turning into the hustle culture. And I think we need to give ourselves permission to just be of service to yourself. And if that ends up turning into something that supports other people, that you want to get out there and you enjoy promoting that, then do that. But there's periods of time where I had gone many, many years without doing anything musically at all. And that's
mm,
fine. Like, if the music isn't coming to or through you, do something else. And I spent a lot of time out in the woods and like collecting wild plants and making plant medicine. I've actually turned that into I make
got
merch
it? Oh,
that is
nice.
plant medicine. I know it's kind of strange merch, but it can be like tailored to whatever somebody's looking for. I have a variety of different wild plants, and I can make a little magical potion with it. So
Amazing.
explore your other passions. It doesn't have
Mm,
to be music is everything. Um,
right.
and I
I
think if
think
you're
it's a
dealing
great
with
message.
illness, that's important to take care of yourself and not just be in the hustle.
Yeah, I think that's such an important message. I think the industry is so focused on being in the industry. Like, you need to market yourself, you need to kind of reach a new audience, you need to do shows, you need to release music consistently, and do a TikTok, do an Instagram. But really, that's how, like you said, none of us go into music because of that. It can either be a healing process, it can be a place for expression, it can be a place for connection with people. And we do lose sight of that sometimes. And I think, yeah, I just love the fact that you've been able to take that kind of time for yourself and also put that into your music. I think as I was diving in, there is that kind of journey that you're going through your music. I mentioned the YouTube simply because I think it's so nice to see the journey. Not that, oh, I used to play the guitar, now I do something different, but actually this was where I was at 14 years ago. And now when I was looking at the video for the latest release, it's like such a progression,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
amazing to see. Do you ever
Yeah.
look back at some of your old stuff and kind of see it that
Um,
way?
Sometimes I do, and it's kind of it's it's nostalgic to me. Other times I look back and I'm like, oh wow, there's some things that really could have been better. But
Right.
it also is it is what it is from those times.
Yeah.
And then there's other times where I hear something, I'm like, I want to redo this with like a alt pop kind of quirky edge to it. There's
Uh,
a song called Love Song to an Alien that I wrote like long
yeah.
time ago, and I'm like, I really want to redo that because it's kind of silly. It's silly. It's a silly song, but it's also really serious.
Yeah.
Um, if you listen to the lyrics, and it's about just really being tired of humanity and what we're doing to the planet and how we live our lives and how we're just, again, it's kind of goes back to the hustle culture thing. And
Mm.
we're saving money up our whole lives and don't have time for connection, don't have time to enjoy being present and enjoy going for a walk out in the woods, or because we're so busy all the time. And for me, then kind of tying that into, I'm tired of dating humans. I'd rather find an alien that wants to take me off the
Right.
planet. um
Yeah. I
so
think, yeah, you're right. You're right. As a society, I think our priorities are in a little bit of a warped position. We kind of live our lives trying to, like you said, hustle, work. Like our lives are very focused on the wrong things where we need to start looking internally and making sure that we're good before we can do anything really. And
yeah.
it's also interesting. I'm working on a festival performance that I have in April, but it focuses on self-care and things to do with mental health. And somebody
Oh,
had
I like
asked me, they had asked me to do a video to talk about what are my self-care tips, and
that.
walking is one of them for me. I know that sounds like a very simple thing to walk in the woods. Like people think, oh, that's a bit, I don't know what they think, but it doesn't seem like you're doing much to.
That's the best self-care.
I
Walking in
love
the
it.
woods.
I love it. It's just
Mhm.
to be at peace, tuning everything out, and just listening to yourself almost. Because sometimes we start to have these thoughts of self-doubt, and we are just criticizing ourselves and putting ourselves down, and we can get overwhelmed with that. But when you're just at peace in the woods, and it's funny because the ocean is another place for me where I can just sit by the ocean, or any water, and just zen. There's
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just something about the water that just I have a connection with.
Where do you
So
live?
I actually live in London, so we do have like
Oh,
loads of
okay.
rivers and seas, but I actually live in a place called Kingston, which has a beautiful riverside. Um,
Mhm.
and there's some just nice spots where you can just, there's no one there. You can just completely listen to the water and the movement of the ocean. So for me, that gives me peace, time to think, which is interesting. Sorry, I've got got into a bit of a tangent, but I love that that's what you actively have done throughout your kind of life, really. Um, One thing I wanted to draw on was with the name Mira Sithra,
Mira Sthira. That's
Sthira, sorry, Mira Sthira. Is that something that you kind of created to kind of step into a new character? Because for me, I obviously go by Axel Hart, which is another alias. And at the time when I created that, there was a meaning behind the name, but also there was a kind of ability to separate myself from who I am and who the artist is. Was that
Yes,
something you did for yourself?
100%.
And does it help you? Does it help you? What was the reasoning behind it?
Well, the previous name that I had been going by was Violet May. And Violet's a part of myself. that I'm, you know, integrating into me. These are all parts of me. None of them are not
Right.
authentic, but it was a part of me that I was growing out of, a part of me that was stuck in some dysfunctional dynamics with people, and kind of disconnected a bit more. And Mira Sthira is the part that is really reclaiming my independence and my own power and my own boundaries and my passion for being of service to myself
Nice. That's
and
wonderful.
others.
That is wonderful. Um, so let's talk about the single, Let the Armor Go. I was watching the video for the original. I know obviously there is a like the dance EDM sort of version of it. Visually, the original video looks incredible. And your voice on that is honestly stunning. It's very otherworldly, to be honest, but like in the best way possible. How did the song come about for you?
That particular song actually came in different stages. Some of the lyrics and maybe even melody happened like 4 years ago when I was leaving a relationship that was really not very good for me.
Mm,
Um, some of it then kind of piled on with other things as I was going along through the past 3 years. And it just kind of came together last year. As I put these different themes and feelings together, I think I needed to kind of step into into those feelings and process it so that I could get to a place where I was working through some of the memories and experiences and feelings and relationships that I'd had.
mhm.
So that song was about like codependency recovery,
Right.
basically, and also, you know, recovering from some relationships where people were extremely deceptive to me.
Mm.
Um, one of which had a person that had a secret partner, for
Oh,
instance,
wow.
that kept me in
Wow.
the dark, and people that made up things about their past that were very elaborate and concerning.
Mm,
And so just that sort of deception that
mm,
can come into many relationships. And I think a lot of people have experienced things like that. And I hope that by sharing that, it can, in those images as well in the video, like in the video, I was wearing chains over my body.
mm,
And then I took the chains at the end and threw them into the river and dove into the river. Um, and there was also a mirror. So this song to me was about looking at myself, not just look at what all these other people did to me, but looking at myself. Why am I in these situations? So diving
mm.
into that mirror, asking myself what's going on inside of me that's contributing to this, and then coming out of the river, bring these shells up to the surface. Like, here's what I come with, and I'm offering these shells to myself. I'm offering this gift to myself of healing, and maybe offering it to others too.
Yeah, I think that's such a great message as well. And I was going to mention the chains in the video. I think that's symbolically, I think we all feel kind of caged up and chained and stuck to the situation sometimes. And to be able to let that go is one of the hardest challenges. And especially with a situation like you were describing. I know you said this was a process that kind of you were writing the song across a few years. When you looked back at the music and the lyrics, did it feel different every time you looked back because it was, such a progression with the song?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's picking up different pieces. Sometimes you start processing something and you realize it hasn't finished.
Right, right.
Um,
It's a bit like grief, right? Sometimes you grieve in different ways. In the moment it's painful and you're angry, and then the next minute you're sad and you're really stuck in a form of depression, and then next minute you're like, actually, that's a learning experience. So I was wondering whether for you that was the same thing. Now you look back at the song, which represents the situation for you. Does that change your perception of how it felt maybe 3 years ago?
Yeah, I do believe in the transformative power of music. And that's also why I think it's really important not to push too much
Mm,
with your vision. Sure, get in the zone and do what's coming up for you. But, some of these themes from that song in particular arose in segments and it wasn't ready to be a whole song yet. So write it down, record a little bit of it. If you're
mm,
not feeling it, let it sit. And for me, I needed to let some of these things sit. Maybe that's just where I was at the time. And then eventually kind of revisiting that when I'm called to
right,
revisit
right.
it. And actually I have a number of other songs coming out that are about those similar themes. And my kind of thought
Mm.
is I keep thinking it might scare people. Some of the things that I have coming out, because there's some really like darker stuff. And
Mm.
I'm okay
But
with
it's
that.
but exactly, but it's real. That's your
Mhm.
experience, and that's what music should be. Although we want to connect with other people through our music, it firstly comes from a place for ourselves. So it can be scary, it can be dark and deep, and maybe
Yeah.
opens up parts of your life that people don't know. But I
Yeah.
think it needs to come from that place.
And different people connect with different things. I mean, I've shared some of my unreleased demos with people, and I got feedback from like one person that's like, I love Let the Armor Go. But these other ones, like, people aren't
Mm,
going to connect with them. And then it's actually men I found that listen to the other ones. That's so, like a
ah,
woman friend didn't understand, but
okay,
there's some men that have like really loved like some of the darker stuff that I'm working on. I'm like, I love it too. Like
amazing.
it's called shadow work. Like you're working
Yes,
through the shadows, like the unresolved, unintegrated parts of yourself. You can't ignore that and like live in a happy, fluffy little cloud somewhere. You have to go dig deep and process some of that stuff.
I,
Sometimes I
I,
listen to some of my songs and I'm like, this sounds like too happy. But if that resonates with
right.
you in that mindset, then that's good. I
I
just
think, yeah, I think shadow work is something that's super underrated. I kind of got into it a few years ago where I was kind of going through a tough time. So to be able to kind of put like your thoughts down and just accept your darkness. We are like I mentioned at the start, there is a lot of duality in your music. There is a lot of lightness and darkness, but I mean, no one is fully happy all the time, fully sparkling and shiny all the time. The reality of life is there are some dark moments, and you need to accept that and also understand that. So I
yeah.
think I'm excited to hear it. I listening to your music. Obviously, you've had kind of that kind of flexibility of the different styles, the different tones, the different messages. And even with Let the Armor Go, obviously you've done a sort of EDM version of the track with another producer, I believe. Um, how was that collaboration? What made you think, let me put a dance EDM spin on it?
You know what's really funny?
Yes.
People don't believe this, but the EDM one was actually the original.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I would not believe that.
Nobody believes that. They're like,
Oh,
what?
wow.
It
Okay. Okay. So that came
is.
first for you.
It came
Ah.
first, and then I wanted something that was a little more softer. So I brought it to my producer, Mikhail, because I love the EDM stuff, and I'm totally an EDM child. um, but I think EDM really works to bring it to a certain audience and not others. So I
Right.
want to have a diversity, and I definitely want to stay with doing some EDM stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
So
your voice works amazing alongside the production of EDM.
I
So
do
it
love,
kind of it
yeah.
makes sense. I'm actually that is very surprising because it's
I
so
know,
different.
I
Um,
know. Everyone's really surprised by that.
I love them both. I actually love them both, but the stripped back version, there obviously with most music, when you strip it back, you're able to really take in the lyrics a little bit more and understand what it means. And then the visuals, I think, alongside that kind of just helps put the idea, the concept
Yeah.
together. So I
Yeah,
love,
I
I
feel
love,
like
I
that
love.
song was like a baby, and I was like giving birth
Yeah,
to it. And I just did so many different versions of it. It's like, let's
exactly.
dress it this way, let's dress it this way. And, it's like I'm
Right.
taking care of this thing that I produced and like attending to it. And you know, again, so often in this hustle culture, we just like put things out and it's like, oh, there
Right,
it is. But it's like,
right.
no, this is kind of my baby. So I'm gonna take care of that baby for a little bit and
Nice.
see what happens.
It's a great baby. It's two great babies. It's if anyone is watching back, please do go listen to both versions. Yeah, it's just a completely different track. What are you expecting now moving forward? Like, what do you have an idea of what you want to release, the kind of concepts in the future? I know you said you've got some demos ready to go.
I
Um,
do. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I haven't finished too because I have like long COVID
Fair,
and it's
fair.
affecting my voice. You can probably hear it a little bit.
It's
And
got it's got nice raspy tones, so it still sounds good.
yeah, but then I start coughing if
Okay.
so, but it seems okay. It's like improving a little bit, but it's
That's
yeah,
good.
it's been a little raspy. So I'm stalled. Like I can't go to a studio. I just don't feel like my voice is ready. And
Hmm.
then I have stuff that needs to be mixed too when I need to save up some money. And I
Yes.
have a video that I'm working on, which is going to be a little shocking to people because I want it to involve ropes and blood and a fake weapon going into me. And it's going to look different than some other things. And um,
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Well, it's
um,
intriguing. I think you're clearly an artist that takes um, every aspect of being an artist seriously, and in the best way, not too seriously. I think the concepts are amazing. So I'm excited to see it. Although it sounds a bit dark, I'm still
it's light
excited.
though.
It's light.
It's
Okay.
integrating. It sounds dark. But at the end of the video, I'll just say that, you know, finding out a way to be meditative and peaceful, even in the midst of just sitting in your own blood, is
Okay.
a
Okay.
place of healing. So,
Yeah. You
and
have
I'll
to
say
accept
that's
the
not where
darkness.
I'm at psychologically right now, but it's something that I think would be really healing because it's
Hmm.
been like a place that I've had to get through when you're working on changing patterns, particularly like addictions. You have to learn to just sit with your own feelings. So
Right.
you have to sit with the wound. You've got a wound, you don't like try to put something in there.
No.
You've got a wound and you let it dry, you let it heal, and it requires just kind of sitting in your own blood for a little bit.
Right.
So
Yeah,
sometimes
it's
the
true.
things that seem dark, it's like you got to sit with it. You got to
I
be
I
with it.
agree. I agree. I agree. You can't find the light until you sort of accept your darkness. So I definitely love that message.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's the message of this next release.
Next
And
release. Yeah. Well, I hope we get to hear it soon. I hope you have a speedy recovery from this long
thank
COVID.
you.
But honestly, it's been wonderful to explore your journey, but also your music. It's been fantastic to hear your voice and the visuals. You've definitely got a fan in me.
Thank
I'm definitely
you.
going to be following your journey. So thank you so much, Mira. Is there any final messages? I know you did a lot of
This is
collaboration with.
Jala.
Oh, okay. It's
That's
a
Jala
complete
Moss. That's
love.
my cat. That's my
So
final
cute.
message.
That's the final message. You know what? I had loads of cats, but I'm a cat person too. So we're connecting in that sense as well. So it's nice to meet your Nala as well. So thank you so much, Mira. Are there any sort of shout outs that you want to give? I know you kind of worked with a lot of producers with your material. Are there any shout outs that you want to give? Any
Yeah. So for Let the Armor Go, I just wanted to thank Mehdi Belkadi is his music name, um, and Mikhail Music. They both worked on the production of that. Um, Brandon Alshouse is my mastering engineer, and he's amazing. He's just such a nice person. And I worked with Jerry Silla on mixing and Jonathan Pifar on mixing as well for those different
Amazing.
versions.
I love the collaborate because obviously I was looking at the list and I love that collaborative work because I feel like when that creative energy is kind of mixed with people, it's so great. But yes, it's wonderful to connect with you. Where can people find you? I know you're on Spotify, SoundCloud.
Oh, I forgot to say Sarah Violet Media did the video. That was pretty important to
Yes.
mention. So
Shout
sorry about
outs to Sarah.
Sarah
It's okay.
Violet. She's amazing. So
Yes.
sorry, where can you find it? It's all over streaming. The video's on YouTube, Mira Sthira. It's Mirasthira.
Amazing. I'll put all the links in the description for everyone to kind of find you as well. But Mira, it's been fantastic connecting with you. I'm so excited to see where your journey takes you. And I'm so excited to kind of heal from your music, because I feel like that's what the sense I got as well
Oh,
from
thank
listening to it.
you. That's what I
So
hope for.
yes, wonderful to catch up with you, and hopefully we'll keep in touch.
Yes,
Take care.
definitely.
Thank you.